world, just rolling along, just rolling along. I'm sitting on top of the world, just rolling along.
Welcome to episode number 6 of the Solo Dungeon Crawler Solo Roleplay Podcast. Today I'm going to jump straight back into my OD&D Castle of the Quest campaign. Time in the campaign is currently the 28th of June. After suffering several casualties in the last adventure, the party are down to 5 adventurers. The good news is that the party leader, Ilara Nightshade, has now progressed to level 4. Brother Bart also. Drago and Sister Galantia are now at level 3, and Hilda has attained level 3 as a fighter and level 2 as a thief. They currently have no hired adventurers. The 5 heavyfoot dwarven mercenaries they brought on the last underworld delve deserted almost instantly, and their hired dwarven thief, Carson, was killed by Sturges. As well as bringing the corpses of Carson, Viridis, Maud, and Ascalante back to the surface, they also brought a charmed bugbear with them, which they received a bounty of 2,700 gold pieces for. As well as lugging the corpses of their friends in the hopes of finding a magical solution for their deaths, or at least for the sake of respectable burials if not, the party also retrieved a booty consisting of 100 silver pieces, 420 gold pieces, 4 pieces of jewellery worth 12,000 gold pieces, a magic sword +1 +3 versus dragons, and a sword +1 +3 versus clerics. The swords worth 8,000 gold pieces in total. They also brought out a magic ring of 3 wishes worth 12,500 gold pieces. Ilara does not hesitate to use a detect magic spell to identify the magical items, so she knows exactly what the party are dealing with. After checking over some of my original notes regarding the encounter with the burglars who were carrying these magical items, I noted that they were servants of chaos. I noted the magic items as being neutral at the time, but this is not the case. The sword's alignments must all be chaos, as they were taken from chaotic burglars. So Hilda will take 6 points of damage carrying out these swords after taking them from Maud, who was killed. And the party now need to find a magic user with fire or lightning spells to destroy the swords, which will drastically affect their profit to risk ratio. Both magic users residing in the last redoubt are only seers, so the party will need to venture out into the wilderness. The questing knights visit a local tavern to inquire whether anyone may have knowledge of the capabilities of any magic user in Plainsands. It is presumed that characters have knowledge of which services are available and in which district of a settlement, but any information associated with the services that is not predetermined might be considered knowledge characters cannot have prior to visiting, unless the services are in the character's hometown. I decided for the sake of the solo game that this information can be obtained by paying a visit to any tavern within 15 miles, a typical day's walk on foot of where the service is located. The chance of receiving such information starts at 50% and can be increased by D4% per 10 gold pieces spent on rounds of drinks. I feel like this is an elegant enough way of dealing with such matters. In the party's case, they will spend 50 gold pieces on drinks to increase their chance of finding out. Therefore, base chance is 50% plus 16%, so 66% chance. But unfortunately, there is no one in this tavern who knows anything about such matters. There are, however, 4 other establishments the party can try out in the Last Redoubt. In the second tavern, they do not buy drinks, so there is a 50% chance only. No luck. On to the third place. Also no luck. In the final establishment, they spend 50 gold pieces again on drinks to loosen tongues, and so they have a 61% chance. It seems the whole thing was just a waste of time and money. They will just need to travel to Plainsands instead. The party place all their treasure on their wagon and set out after buying an ample supply of rations. On the 29th of June, the party are travelling from the Last Redoubt to Plainsands by wagon. Map coordinates F8 to H4. The party will travel alongside the river to avoid becoming lost until they reach the Great Plain, just 3 miles from home. After reaching the Great Plain, they find their way across it without issue and reach Plainsands on the 4th hour of daylight. After making it safely to Plainsands, they begin to seek out a magic user in the Seaman's Cove, located in the southwestern part of town, nearest the shore of a river that runs through the mountains to the sea. After paying the relevant duties and tithes to enter the town gates, which comes to 1,558 gold pieces, a large amount due to the amount of treasure they carry, they dither for a few moments while they gather their bearings, then decide to ask a member of the town guard for directions to the magic user's residence or place of business. They are quickly pointed in the direction of the thaumaturgist's house. It is no complicated matter to ask any common person or guard for directions if something specific is being sought. The only restrictions is that whatever is being sought must have already been predetermined to exist. Then it is a matter of rolling on my own random tables that generate urban settings until I come to the table containing the item in question. Once this table is reached, I don't roll on it but instead take the desired result, and therefore I have reached my destination. The thaumaturgist demands the Ring of 3 Wishes as payment, plus 2 pieces of jewellery worth a further 6,000 gold pieces. I used a number of books to guide me to this conclusion. The World Builder's Guidebook of 1996, which gives suggested levels of magic users for a typical settlement, i.e. villages might have 1st to 4th level magic users, towns 2nd to 7th level, and cities 4th to 16th level. With Men in Magic as a further guide, we might say that as payment for spell services, the magic user will require a magical item, allowing as many spells to be cast up to the sale value of said item. And if they have no magical items suitable for use, only then will the magic user request gold pieces. If no payment is possible, the magic user will send characters after treasure by Gaius, taking 50 to 100% of all treasure so gained, the magic user having first choice of magical items and automatically choosing miscellaneous magic, wands and staves or rings, in that order, in preference to other items. I came up with the following cost of spellcasting services per spell. So first level spells cost 2,000 gold pieces, second level 4,000, third 8,000, fourth 16,000, fifth 32,000 and sixth 64,000. The party hand over the relevant loot and the thaumaturgist casts a fireball on the weapons, which will need a 14 to save. Thankfully, both the chaotic swords are destroyed. The party are now left with the problem of how they might help their dead friends, whose bodies are now safely resting in the monastery of the Last Redoubt. Next, the party will try to find a cleric who might resurrect the dead. They request directions from the thaumaturgist to the local patriarch, and he directs them to the surgeon's quarter, but not before explaining that the characters have been dead for too many days, and that the cost will be in excess of 32,000 gold pieces, which is beyond the party's current wealth. So sadly, the dead will simply have to rest in peace. The party return to the Last Redoubt and recruit 4 new characters through the guild hall. In my game, I always presume an adventurers guild exists in the characters based town, and there is a 52% chance one will exist per 100 people in any given settlement. However, only one guild may be situated within 100 miles of any other. I like to keep my adventuring party at a size of 9 characters. For me, this feels like the right balance between staying alive and not having too much bookkeeping. The party pick up the following 4 new recruits. A half-elf named Elrin Stormborn, operating as a fighter. A half-ling named Samwise Shadowstep, also operating as a fighter. A cleric named Eliana Sunshroud, and last but not least, another halfling named Dorin Deepdelver, who suspiciously sounds dwarvish, but is indeed a halfling and is operating as a thief. As far as ability scores are concerned, there is nothing too notably high rolled. Samwise has a 16 charisma and Dorin a 14 dex. To counterbalance these above average scores though, the half-elf Elrin has a 3 wisdom and a 3 constitution. The new cleric, Eliana, will also have to suffice with a 6 strength and a 4 dexterity. These are the joys of rolling scores down the line on 3d6, but this is the way and is well and truly original D&D. On the 30th of June, at dusk, after a night's rest, the party venture out once again on an expedition to the maze below the castle of the quest. After descending the stairs in the centre of the Great Keep, the party move through a small chamber below, through 2 previously discovered secret doors, separated by a short corridor, and into a northwest passage. From there, the party follow this 10-foot wide passage, passing over a trapdoor leading down to a lower level. As the party are making their way across a large chamber at the end of the passage, they hear a tinkling sound coming from the north end of the chamber, where a wide staircase leads down. The party continue moving towards the southeast corner of the chamber, where a broken door reveals a slightly smaller chamber beyond. They move to the northwest corner of this chamber, where a door is already spiked open. The spike still holds. A section of floor in the centre of this chamber activates a strength gas, which has a 2 in 6 chance of being released, adding 1 to 6 points of strength to all fighters in the party for 10 to 40 turns. Unfortunately, the trap does not trigger on this occasion. The party hear a creak directly behind them, so they swiftly pass through the door and follow a narrow southwest passage, which turns northwest after 40 feet, and then emerges into a wider array of passages after 40 feet more. The party then follow a 20-foot wide passage west, then southwest, till they come to a door. This door has already been spiked. The spike is still holding up well. A wandering monster is indicated. Beyond the door, no less than 15 Sturges are heading towards the party. There is no surprise. Encounter distance is 40 feet. The Sturges win the initiative and cut to melee distance. Only Sam can give pass-through fire as they approach, but rolls a 4. The melee consists of normal versus fantastic figures, so the 1 to 20 chainmail system will be used. The Sturges attack as Lightfoot, and the party defend as Heavyfoot. The Sturges will get 7 dice and need 6s to hit for just a single point of damage. They score no hits. The party attack as Heavyfoot versus Lightfoot. Eliana, Hilda, Elrin and Samwise are in the first rank. They are equivalent to 6 figures in fighting capability, so they get 6 dice and need either 5s or 6s to hit. They score 2 hits and manage 2 kills. I haven't done this previously, but as this fight is at 120 scale, I decided to try out the post-melee morale system proposed in Chainmail. It's not very clear whether it was the intention of Gary to include this in D&D when fantastic figures are fighting normal figures, but the rational thing to do is to follow the natural path of the rules, which would indicate that 120 scale combat uses the post-melee morale system. I may revisit this ruling later if I run into any obvious problems with it. The party have fewer casualties. The positive difference is 2 multiplied by 5, so 10. They have 8 Heavyfoot worth 5 points apiece, to 14 total. Their overall post-melee morale score is 50. The Sturges are 13 versus 8, so their positive difference is 5. They have 13 Lightfoot worth 4 apiece, so 52 in total. Their overall post-melee morale score is 57. The difference is 57 minus 50, so 7. This total is then doubled as the melee involves less than 20 figures per side. This makes a difference of 14, and it is the Sturges who had the higher score. As the party are not subject to morale and there are no NPCs in the party, the melee will continue.
Process interrupted.
Tom, you mess things up a bit here. The party are 6 heavy foot, not 8. This means the positive difference for the Sturges is 7 and not 5. The correct post-melee morale score for the questing knights would therefore be 80, and the Sturges scored 118.
On the second round, down to 6 dice, the Sturges manage 2 hits, so Elrin and Hilda will take a point of damage each. Lucky for them, they have more than a single hit point each. Miraculously, the party land no blows in return. For sake of speed, I'll rule that as there were no casualties this round, melee will continue. On the third round, a hit is scored against Eliana, who is killed. The return blows are still 6 dice, as per chainmail. After both players have rolled the number of dice allotted to them for their meleeing troops by the combat tables, casualties are removed. Therefore, casualties still roll attacks as the action within each melee round is all happening at once. With their 6 dice, the party score just a single hit, but no kills. This time, it is the Sturges who have the fewer casualties. None versus the party's 1. So their positive difference is 1 multiplied by 1. So just 1.
Process interrupted.
Tom, you messed things up again, so I've replaced your audio here. You need to be more careful with your maths in future. The Sturges have more survivors, 13 versus 5, so the positive difference is 8. The questing knights have 5 heavy foot worth 5 apiece, so 25 points in total. The Sturges have 13 light foot worth 4 apiece, so 52 in total. After doubling the party's total of 25, we get 50, and the Sturges' score of 61 becomes 122. The positive difference is 72 in favour of the Sturges.
The party have the lower total and not subject to morale, so the melee continues. The melee has now exceeded 3 consecutive rounds, meaning that both sides will suffer fatigue. Their attack and defence values will drop, and they will suffer penalties to morale scores. The party are now Lightfoot, and the Sturges, already Lightfoot, cannot go any lower. On the 4th round, Drago moves in to replace Eliana. This strengthens the party to 8 dice. The Sturges now get 1 dice per creature, as they are now considered to be fighting Lightfoot troops, but still need 6 to hit. The Sturges score another hit for 1 point of damage against Elrin. The party now needs 6s to hit as well. They score 2 hits and 2 kills. 11 Sturges remain and are down to 11 dice on the combat tables. The Sturges are now also subject to another form of morale check. That is the instability due to excess casualties form of morale check, as they have been reduced below 25% of their original number. They need to roll a 7 on 2d6 to remain. They fail and are immediately removed from play. After the encounter is over, the party move through the small room and successfully exit southwest through a door across a larger room, where they approach a broken door on the southwest wall. The party rest for a turn. On the following turn, a wandering monster is indicated. From monster level table 2, ghouls, 10 of them. No surprise, distance is 50 feet and the ghouls are approaching from ahead. They win the initiative, begin cutting to melee distance. The party will flee back through the broken door. The ghouls give chase. Hilda slings herself at the door across the next room and successfully forces it open. At this point, the ghouls give in. They will stay guarding the previous room, and so I'll add them to the map key at this location. The party are now back in a room with 3 doors. They will spike all 3 shut so they can rest for 2 turns in order to recover from the pursuit without being disturbed. They will use 10 spikes per door. This will reduce the probability of any door slipping open to 1 in 6. 1 does slip. Fortunately, there are no wandering monsters. So this concludes the first hour in the dungeon. The party are burning a lantern. They have 3 flasks of oil, and the current flask they are burning has burnt for 6 out of a possible 24 turns. They still have plenty of torches, plenty of spikes, and plenty of sling stones. After their rest, Hilda forces the door to re-access the chamber of ghouls and fails, losing the element of surprise, but tries again, this time with success. The party do win the initiative though. Bart and Galantia attempt to turn the ghouls. Bart can automatically turn up to 2 dice in number. He turns 7 out of 10 of them. Galantia needs a 7 on 2d6 to turn ghouls. She succeeds. She gets to roll 1 die to see how many. I borrowed this from Holmes Basic because OD&D doesn't explain it. She just manages to turn the last 3. The party then proceed back toward and through the broken door and into a 10-foot wide passage leading south. They continue south and then turn east into a similar passage. The party continue along the east passage, and before long they turn into a southwest passage that widens to 20 feet. They follow this for some time. They hear a slithering sound behind them, but they just keep pushing ahead. They reach the end of the southwest passage and move through a previously discovered secret door. The air is very still in the room beyond. Now the party can hear groaning ahead of them. They swiftly exit through a door on the northwest wall, previously spiked and still secure, into a passage with mouldy walls which smells dank. They continue north along this mouldy corridor until they emerge into a very large oval chamber where the air is very still and warm. On the final turn of their second hour, the party rest. They are now halfway through the current flask of oil that they are burning in their lantern. The party move west into a 20-foot passage. As they move into it, the warm air begins to smell of rotting vegetation. Hilda listens at a door on the south wall, but hears nothing beyond. she successfully forces it open. As the threshold is crossed, 5 giant spiders drop from the ceiling above. They successfully surprise the party from 20 feet away and use their surprise round to scuttle towards them. The spiders win the initiative roll. They will melee as 5 light foot versus 9 armoured foot. They get 1 die, 6 hits. They do not hit. The party get 9 dice for their return blows, 4 through 6s hit. They score 5 hits, and as the spiders only have a single hit point, 5 kills. The party retrieve 40 gold pieces from the room, and then Hilda listens at another door at the east end of the room. She doesn't hear a thing, but proceeds to force the door anyway, with swift success. As soon as the party enter the next room, they are set upon by 2 giant weasels. There is no surprise, but as the room is so small, the weasels are upon them straight away at 10-foot distance. The weasels win the initiative. They spring forward, attempting to bite, but they cannot break through the front line, their teeth simply glancing off the armour of the defenders. The party score 2 easy kills. The party turn to leave the weasel den, but no matter how hard Hilda pushes against the door, it simply will not give. This is a little solo play rule of mine that I've added in regards to forcing open doors. It works as follows. An unsuccessful roll of 6 when attempting to force a door negates any chance of future attempts to force it. A detect magic spell can be cast on the door to determine if it is wizard locked, die 1 to 2, or just stubborn. If it is wizard locked, then the level of the magic user who cast the spell can be determined on a roll of 2d8. Whether stubborn or magically locked, the door can be opened with a knock spell. Alternatively, a stubborn door could be broken down in 1 turn with an axe, but 3 wandering monster checks must be carried out during this turn. If no knock spell is available, no suitable implement to break the door down, and no other exit, then treat as a dead end. Walls can be checked for secret doors. In my case, as per the footnote on table 4 of the Solo Dungeon Adventures article that Gary Gygax published in Strategic Review, issue number 1. As they have nothing suitable to break it down and no knock spell memorised, they search the wall for a secret door. Elrin has the best chance to succeed. He checks the east wall first and is in luck straight away. The party enter a north-south passage beyond the secret door and hear a loud bang to the north. Despite this, they follow the passage in that direction, re-entering the previous discovered oval chamber, then taking a right into another passage leading east. As they have moved towards this bestial sound, a wandering monster will appear on a roll of 5 or 6 this time. An encounter is imminent. The party see bugbears, 3 of them, who take them by surprise. 30 feet ahead, stealing along the passage. For their surprise round, the bugbears charge at the party before they have a chance to react. The bugbears then gain the initiative for the first round. As bugbears are large, only 2 of them can get into attacking positions in the 10-foot wide space. They strike at Hilda and Elrin, but only Elrin is hit for 4 damage. Ilara, who is unopposed, will cast Sleep, which as a first level spell can be cast with immediate effect. Bugbears fall fast asleep. The party continue along the narrow corridor, which eventually splits off down a 20-foot wide side passage leading southeast. But they continue east, passing over a pile of pottery shards. Eventually, the corridor dead ends. The party take an opportunity to rest. They have about another hour left in the current flask of oil that they are burning. Hilda searches the wall ahead for a secret passage or door, but there seems nothing but smooth, hard stone. A loud thud can be heard behind them, but the party have no choice but to move towards this sound. As soon as they can, however, they turn into a side passage, which unfortunately also dead ends. Hilda spends 20 minutes searching the walls for a way through, and eventually has some success. Up to this point, I think I've given a pretty extensive example of some actual play dungeon delving. The procedure is mostly self-explanatory. The turn begins, the party move, the dungeon is generated randomly, including sounds, general furnishings and so on. Time is kept strictly, wandering monster rolls made at the end of each turn, and so on. So, in an attempt to keep this episode under an hour, but provide coverage for the whole adventure, I'm just going to cover the major events of the delve from here on out. I'll do these in a slightly more narrative style to give you something different for a change. But don't expect Fritz Leiber. The narrative will be mostly clear descriptions with a few less dice rolls, and will include brief explanations to indicate what's happening mechanically. I've already given plenty of examples on previous episodes of the Castle of the Quest of how I proceed with my delving activities in this campaign, and there will be plenty more examples in due course. So on the 22nd turn, the party burst through a door where they see 3 spiders on the ceiling directly above them, 20 feet away. The party win the initiative, but decide to counter-move and give pass-through fire with slings to the spiders as they scuttle across the ceiling. As this is 120 scale combat, the missile fire tables in chainmail will be used, with the party's missile figures firing as 7 figures against half-armoured targets. 2 spiders are killed by the sling stones and fall in a crumpled heap on the floor. The last spider passes its morale check and drops down to bite Drago. This melee will be Lightfoot versus Armoured Foot. The spider has no chance of penetrating Drago's plate mail. The party are easily able to kill the last spider. It is pierced and flung to the ground in a heap before it can do any harm whatsoever. On the 28th turn, the party hear music. Dorin scouts ahead to see what the source of the music is. He attempts to move silently with a 45% chance to succeed, as he is able to use the music as his cover. He also has a 75% chance to stay hidden in the shadows due to the pitch black nature of the dungeon. He will need to rely on his infravision. He rolls over on hiding shadows, so he manages to stay silent but not hidden. Doran sneaks into a chamber and spots 8 kobolds guarding 2 passages on the northeast wall. The dice indicate that this is a kobold lair. Despite his visibility, Doran manages to surprise them from 30 feet. Doran uses his surprise to retreat back to the party and report what he has seen. The party will ambush the kobolds when they arrive in the next chamber. The kobolds win the initiative and close. But as they do, the party's slingers manage to take out 3 of them and force a morale check, which the kobolds pass. The kobolds give return blows and manage to score 1 hit point of damage against Sister Galantia. On the second round, the party win the initiative, score 5 hits, kill 4 kobolds, and leave the last wounded. The last kobold, as a single Lightfoot figure against numerous armoured foot, is unable to hit and so is easily slain. One of the kobolds was carrying an ornate music box worth 25 gold pieces. There is a pothole 6 feet in diameter leading up to the surface, and a narrow tunnel leading northeast deeper into the kobold lair. And this is barely 2 feet wide. The party decide to venture into the kobold lair of long, narrow passages, some of which are barely 2.5 feet wide tunnels cut into the limestone rock. As the party are about to enter a cavern, a group of kobolds are making their way up a narrow tunnel behind them at 60-foot distance. The initiative is tied, so I decided to use adjusted dexterity to dictate when the actions of the 2 sides will take place. Galantia and Drago will fire their slings. Their adjusted dexterity dictates they cannot act till segment 4. So the kobolds will be 20 feet away at the moment the sling stones fire. The slingers kill 3 kobolds, leaving 3 survivors. These survivors pass their morale check to remain. When melee ensues, only Galantia and 1 kobold can attack due to restrictions of the narrow tunnel. The kobold cannot hit Galantia, and inevitably, as the kobolds are funneled, she would eventually slay them all one by one. So I will rule that it will take 1 to 6 rounds for this melee to end. In 2 rounds, the kobolds are slain. Throughout their exploration of the kobold lair, encounters go much the same way, posing no challenge to the party, who slay them easily without taking casualties in return. The main attraction occurs as the party approach an underground lake where they see a giant octopus basking near the surface at the centre of the lake, about 40 feet ahead. This giant octopus is a semi-intelligent, non-hostile monster, as per the description of them in Blackmoor. To handle encounters with non- or semi-intelligent, non-hostile monsters in my solo game, I devised the following rules, basing them on what is said in Men and Magic, Monsters and Treasure, and Underworld and Wilderness Adventures, as well as Greyhawk and its suggestions on traps. These types of monsters can be charmed with a Charm Monster spell to bring them completely under the influence of a magic user. Animals can be spoken to with a Speak with Animals spell in order to gain some useful information. Animals are also subject to growth of animal spells, animal control potions, and the like. Animals can also be taken to an animal trainer for domestication. There is, however, a 2 in 6 chance that animals which appear to be perfectly harmless are deadly. In accordance with a little table I devised, druids will be able to spot the danger. So a 6-sided die is rolled. On a roll of 1 or 2, the animal is crossbred with a monster of a similar type. On a roll of 3 or 4, the animal has the ability to paralyze by touch, and a roll of a 5 or 6 indicates the animal has the ability to either breathe or cast fire, lightning, gas, cold, or stones. So a roll of 1 to 2 is fire, 3 to 4 lightning, 5 or 6 gas, 7 or 8 cold, and 9 or 10 stones. And if a negative reaction roll is made by the animal, then a 10-sided die is rolled with a roll of 7 or 8, indicating that the animal will grow to huge size if it's within 30 feet of the party, and a roll of 9 or 10 means the animal will turn into another monster if touched, and random determination will determine which monster it turns into, and this will be based on the particular environment of the animal and monster. So in this case, the octopus was exactly what it seemed to be. It was perfectly harmless. So following this brief encounter, the party escaped back through the kobold tunnels and climbed back to the surface via a newly discovered exit behind the castle, north of the moat, thus completing another adventure in the maze below the castle of the quest. I do hope you had a great time listening to this session. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great week, everyone.